Maya Chen adjusted her thrift store blazer one more time before stepping through the mahogany doors of her uncle's Westchester mansion. The annual Chen family reunion always felt like entering another world, one where success was measured in square footage and luxury car brands. At 24, Maya had grown accustomed to being the family's cautionary tale, the one who had potential but lacked direction. The sprawling living room buzzed with familiar conversations about promotions, vacation homes, and private school tuitions. Maya's parents, David and Linda, huddled near the appetizer table, their Target outfits standing out against the sea of designer clothing. They'd driven 3 hours from their modest apartment in Queens, bringing homemade dumplings that looked humble next to the catered spread. Maya, her cousin Derek's voice boomed across the room. At 26, Derek Chen embodied everything the family considered success. His tailored suit probably cost more than Maya made in 2 months at the electronics store where she worked days. Come tell everyone about your latest project. The way he said project made Maya's stomach tighten, but she'd been waiting for this moment. For months, she'd been working 18-hour days, 8 hours selling phones and tablets, 10 hours teaching herself Python, JavaScript, and machine learning algorithms. Her fingers were permanently stained with coffee, her eyes perpetually bloodshot, but she'd created something extraordinary. Actually, I'm developing an AI-powered accessibility app, Maya began, her voice gaining strength. It's called Vision Bridge. The idea came after my brother Kevin lost his sight in that car accident last year. The room quieted. Kevin's accident had shaken the entire family. A 19-year-old college sophomore, brilliant and full of life, suddenly navigating a world without sight. Maya had watched him struggle with existing accessibility tools, their clunky interfaces and limited functionality creating more barriers than they remove. Vision Bridge uses advanced computer vision and natural language processing to describe environments in real time, Maya continued, pulling out her phone to show a rough prototype. But it's not just about reading text or identifying objects. The AI learns each user's preferences, their daily routines, their personal needs. It can distinguish between there's a chair in front of you and there's your favorite reading chair by the window. A few family members nodded politely, but Maya could see the glazed expressions, the subtle eye rolls. She pressed on, her passion overriding her anxiety. I've been teaching myself machine learning, working with beta testers from the National Federation of the Blind. The app can even recognize emotional contexts, like knowing when someone needs encouragement versus practical information. It's not just assisted technology, it's a companion that understands. Derek's laughter cut through her words like a blade. Oh, Maya, he chuckled, shaking his head with theatrical amusement. That's really adorable. The word adorable hung in the air like a slap. Around them, other family members began to snicker. I mean, it's sweet that you're playing programmer, Derek continued, his voice dripping with condescension. But let's be realistic here. Do you have any idea what goes into developing enterprise-level software? The funding requirements, the regulatory compliance, the market research. Maya's cheeks burned. I've been researching all of that. Come on, Derek interrupted, gesturing dismissively. You work retail, Maya. You barely graduated college with a communications degree. This isn't like learning to use TikTok. More laughter rippled through the room. Maya's father shifted uncomfortably, staring at his shoes. Her mother's face flushed with embarrassment. Look, Derek said, his tone becoming mockingly generous. I appreciate the ambition, I really do, but you should stick to what you know. Speaking of which, my team could actually use a good administrative assistant. It's a real job with real benefits, much better than chasing pipe dreams. The room erupted in approving murmurs. That's so generous of you, Derek, someone said. Maya, you should really consider it, added another voice. Maya stood frozen, her phone still in her hand, the Vision Bridge prototype suddenly feeling like a child's toy. The weight of their collective dismissal crushed down on her shoulder. These people, her own family, saw her as nothing more than Derek's potential assistant, grateful for scraps from his successful table. I need some air, Maya managed, pushing through the crowd toward the patio door. Behind her she heard Derek's voice, now directed at the room. She'll come around. Sometimes people need to learn the hard way, that not everyone can be an entrepreneur. The laughter that followed would echo in Maya's mind for months to come. 3 months later, Maya was deep in code when her phone buzzed with a notification from TechCrunch. She almost ignored it. Notifications were distractions she couldn't afford while debugging Vision Bridge's latest neural network update. But the headline made her blood freeze. Tech Nova Corp announces revolutionary AI accessibility initiative led by rising star Derek Chen. Maya's coffee mug slipped from her fingers, shattering against her apartment's linoleum floor. She clicked the article with trembling hands. Derek Chen, recently promoted to Director of Accessibility Innovation at Tech Nova Corp, unveiled the company's ambitious new project, an AI-powered accessibility platform designed to revolutionize how visually impaired users interact with technology. The inspiration came from personal experience, Chen told reporters. Watching family members struggle with existing tools showed me there was a better way. The words blurred as Maya's eyes filled with tears of rage. Personal experience, family member, the exact phrases she'd used at the reunion, the same emotional foundation she'd built Vision Bridge upon. She scrolled frantically through the article, each paragraph a fresh knife wound. The app's core features real-time environmental description, personalized AI learning, emotional context recognition, were identical to what she'd shared that humiliating night. Even the technical approach mirrored her own research, down to the specific machine learning models she'd mentioned. "This isn't possible," Maya whispered to her empty apartment, but as she dug deeper into Technova's press releases, the timeline became sickeningly clear. Derek had presented his revolutionary concept to Technova's Innovation Committee just 2 weeks after the family reunion. 2 weeks after he'd laughed at her adorable dream, Maya's phone rang. It was her friend Jenna from the coding boot camp they'd both attended last year. "Maya, did you see the TechCrunch article? The accessibility app sounds exactly like Vision Bridge," Maya finished, her voice hollow. "It is Vision Bridge. He stole it, Jenna. Derek stole my entire concept." "That's impossible. You have timestamps, documentation." "Of what?" "A conversation at a family party, screenshots of personal code on my laptop." Maya laughed bitterly. "He works at a Fortune 5. I work at an electronics store. Who's gonna believe me?" After hanging up, Maya spent the next 4 hours researching everything she could find about Derek's new position. The deeper she dug, the more devastating it became. Technova had given him a team of 12 developers, a 7-figure budget, and a direct reporting line to the CEO. Industry publications were calling him a visionary leader and disability rights advocate. LinkedIn was flooded with congratulatory messages about his innovative thinking and compassionate leadership. The same man who had publicly mocked her for playing programmer was now being celebrated as a tech pioneer using her stolen idea. Maya found herself scrolling through the family WhatsApp group, where relatives were sharing Derek's success story with pride. "So proud of our Derek. Always knew he was special. True entrepreneur in the family." Her uncle had even shared the TechCrunch article with the caption, "This is what real success looks like." Maybe certain family members will finally understand the difference between dreams and reality. Maya stared at that message until her vision blurred. The cruelty was breathtaking, not just Derek's theft but the family's continued dismissal of her, their celebration of success built on her stolen work. She opened her laptop and pulled up Vision Bridge's code repository. Months of 18-hour days, hundreds of commits, thousands of lines of code she'd written while Derek slept in his comfortable bed. She had timestamps proving her work predated his innovation by over a year. She had beta tester testimonials, user feedback, technical documentation, everything except the one thing that mattered, a platform powerful enough to make people listen. That night, Maya made a decision that would change everything. She wouldn't just build Vision Bridge, she would make it so undeniably superior, so revolutionary, that Derek's stolen version would look like a cheap knockoff. And when the time came, she would make sure the entire tech world knew exactly who the real innovator was. Maya's war room was a corner of her studio apartment that she'd transformed into a tech command center. 3 monitors displayed lines of code, user feedback charts, and competitor analysis. Empty energy drink cans formed a metallic fortress around her mechanical keyboard. Sleep became optional, revenge became essential. But this wasn't going to be a frontal assault. Maya had learned something valuable from Derek's betrayal. Information was power, and she intended to gather every advantage she could. Her first move was strategic reconnaissance. Using her retail job's industry connections, Maya discovered that Technova's accessibility project was behind schedule. Derek's team was struggling with the complex AI training models, the same models Maya had spent months perfecting through trial and error. While Derek had stolen her concept, he hadn't stolen the hard-won technical knowledge that made it work. Maya's code repository became her strongest weapon. Every commit was time-stamped, every innovation documented with meticulous detail. She began creating a comprehensive paper trail, recording video logs of her development process and backing up everything to multiple cloud services. When the time came to prove her case, she would have evidence that would be impossible to dismiss. But documentation wasn't enough. Maya needed allies, and she found them in unexpected places. Through accessibility forums and developer communities, Maya connected with other programmers who had faced similar intellectual property theft. Sarah Kim, a machine learning engineer whose startup idea had been borrowed by her former employer, became Maya's unofficial mentor in the art of strategic competition. Don't just build a better product, Sarah advised during one of their late-night video calls. Build a category-defining product. Make it so good that anything else looks obsolete. Maya also reached out to disability rights advocates and accessibility consultants. Unlike Derek, who was approaching accessibility as a corporate initiative, Maya built genuine relationships with the community she was serving. She attended virtual support groups, participated in assistive technology conferences, and most importantly, recruited a diverse group of beta testers who provided invaluable feedback. The crown jewel of Maya's alliance building was connecting with Dr. Tricia Yandel, a renowned accessibility researcher at MIT who had been following VisionBridge's development through GitHub. Dr. Yandel became not just a technical advisor, but a powerful advocate who could lend academic credibility to Maya's work. Meanwhile, Maya used her insider knowledge of Derek's timeline to stay one step ahead. Through careful social media monitoring and industry newsletters, she tracked Technova's progress. When Derek's team struggled with voice recognition accuracy, Maya had already solved that problem. When they announced plans for multilingual support, Maya had already implemented it in 4 languages. The development race became Maya's obsession. She quit her retail job and burned through her savings, living on ramen and determination. While Derek's team worked standard business hours with corporate bureaucracy slowing every decision, Maya worked around the clock with the agility of a solo developer. Her breakthrough came at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday, 6 months after discovering Derek's betrayal. Maya had been wrestling with a particularly complex problem: how to make VisionBridge's AI truly understand context, not just identify objects. The solution came in a flash of inspiration: emotional intelligence algorithms, combined with predictive behavior modeling. She implemented the feature in a week. When her brother Kevin tested it, he called her crying. "Maya, it's like having a friend who actually understands me," he said. "It knew I was frustrated before I even said anything, and it changed its whole approach to help me feel better." That's when Maya realized she wasn't just building a better product, she was building something Derek's corporate team, with all their resources and stolen concepts, could never replicate. They had her ideas, but they didn't have her heart. Maya's app began gaining traction in the accessibility community. User testimonials poured in through her beta testing program. Accessibility influencers started mentioning VisionBridge in their social media posts. Tech bloggers who specialized in assistive technology began reaching out for interviews. The most satisfying moment came when Maya discovered that several Technova employees had quietly started using VisionBridge instead of their own company's internal prototype. The message was clear: even with unlimited resources, Derek's team couldn't match what Maya had built alone. As Maya prepared for VisionBridge's official launch, she made one final strategic decision. Instead of releasing quietly and hoping for organic growth, she would debut at Tech Innovate, the industry's most prestigious conference. The same conference where Derek was scheduled to present Technova's accessibility initiative as a keynote speaker. Maya submitted her application to present in the Startup Showcase, knowing that success would put her on the same stage where Derek planned to claim credit for her stolen dream. The irony was perfect: Derek would finally get to see what real innovation looked like, and the entire tech industry would witness the confrontation. Her acceptance email arrived on a Friday evening. "Congratulations, VisionBridge has been selected for the Tech Innovate Startup Showcase. We're excited to see your revolutionary accessibility platform in action." Maya smiled for the first time in months. The pieces were in place, the product was superior, and the stage was set. Derek had laughed at her dream, stolen her ideas, and humiliated her in front of their family. But soon, the entire tech world would see who the real innovator was. Derek Chen was scrolling through his LinkedIn feed during his morning coffee when he saw it. A post from Tech Innovate announcing their startup showcase participant. The name Vision Bridge jumped out at him like a neon warning sign. His coffee mug crashed to his kitchen floor as he clicked through to Maya's company profile. Impossible, he muttered, staring at screenshots of an interface that looked disturbingly familiar yet undeniably more sophisticated than anything his team had produced. The user testimonials were glowing, the feature set was extensive, and worst of all, the app was already live in beta with hundreds of active users. Derek's hands shook as he opened the App Store and downloaded Vision Bridge. What he discovered made his stomach drop. Maya's app wasn't just functional, it was extraordinary. The AI responded with an intelligence and empathy that made Technova's prototype look like a crude toy. Features his team had been struggling with for months worked flawlessly in Maya's version. The panic set in immediately. Derek's keynote at Tech Innovate was 3 weeks away. He'd already been featured in promotional materials as the visionary behind revolutionary accessibility technology. The tech press was calling him a rising star. His CEO had personally congratulated him on the innovation. And now his retail working cousin had somehow built something that made his entire project look obsolete. Derek's first instinct was damage control through intimidation. He called Maya directly, his voice attempting casual confidence, but betraying underlying desperation. Maya, saw your little app announcement. Congrats on the hobby project. It's not a hobby, Derek, it's a business. With real users who depend on it daily. Look, I'm calling as family. You might want to be careful about patent infringement. Technova has significant intellectual property protections around accessibility AI. I'd hate for you to get in legal trouble. Maya's laugh was ice cold. Patent infringement. That's interesting, considering I have GitHub commits dating back over a year before your revolutionary innovation was announced. But please, feel free to have your lawyers examine my documentation. The call ended with Derek realizing his intimidation attempt had backfired spectacularly. Maya wasn't the insecure dreamer he'd humiliated at the family reunion. She was confident, prepared, and worst of all, she was right. Derek's next strategy was poaching. He instructed his head of recruitment to identify Maya's key contributors and offer them positions at Techno. The plan failed immediately. Maya had built such strong relationships with her collaborators that his offers were not only rejected but reported back to Maya directly. Dr. Patricia Yandel from MIT even called Derek personally. Ms. Chen, I understand you're trying to recruit researchers working with Maya Chen. I find this particularly interesting given that several of my colleagues have noted striking similarities between your company's accessibility project and Ms. Chen's earlier work. Desperation drove Derek to increasingly unethical tactics. He began spreading rumors in industry forums about Vision Bridge's security vulnerabilities, creating fake accounts to post negative reviews, and even attempting to DDoS Maya's server. Each attack failed spectacularly and often backfired, drawing more attention to Maya's superior product. The tech media began picking up on the story. An investigative journalist from Wired started asking uncomfortable questions about the timeline of Technova's accessibility initiative. A prominent disability rights blogger wrote a scathing comparison between corporate accessibility theater and authentic community-driven innovation, using Derek and Maya as case studies without naming them directly. Derek's team was falling apart. His lead developer quit after discovering Maya's GitHub repository, realizing they'd been struggling to recreate something she'd already perfected. 2 other engineers requested transfers to different projects. His product manager started suggesting they pivot to a different market segment. The breaking point came when Derek's CEO, Patricia Williams, called him into her office. She'd been following the industry buzz around Vision Bridge and had some pointed questions. Derek, I'm seeing some concerning discussions online about the origins of our accessibility project. There seems to be another app with remarkably similar features that predates our development. Can you explain this? Derek's carefully constructed story began to crumble. He mumbled something about parallel development and common approaches to accessibility problems, but Williams wasn't buying it. I'm putting the keynote presentation on hold pending a full review, she announced. If there are any intellectual property concerns, I need to know about them before we present publicly. Derek left that meeting knowing his career was hanging by a thread. Maya's success wasn't just embarrassing, it was existential. If the truth about the project's origins came out, he wouldn't just lose his promotion, he'd lose everything. In a final act of desperation, Derek reached out to family members, trying to rally them against Maya. He told his parents that Maya was attacking the family and trying to destroy his career out of jealousy. Some relatives bought his story, but others were beginning to ask uncomfortable questions about why Maya's impossible dream had become such a successful reality. Maya, meanwhile, watched Derek's unraveling with a mixture of satisfaction and pity. Each desperate move he made only validated her decision to compete rather than confront. She didn't need to destroy Derek, he was destroying himself, and she was simply giving him the rope. 3 days before Tech Innovate, Maya received a LinkedIn message from Derek. Maya, we need to talk, as family. This has gone too far. She deleted it without responding. The time for family conversations had passed. The next time she spoke to Derek, it would be in front of the entire tech industry. The Tech Innovate conference hall buzzed with the energy of 3,000 tech professionals, investors, and media representatives. Maya sat in the third row, her startup showcase presentation scheduled for later that afternoon. She wore a simple black blazer, the same one from the family reunion, but now it felt like armor rather than a costume. On stage, Derek Shen stood behind the podium, looking polished in his tailored suit but noticeably tense. The massive screens behind him displayed the Technova logo and the title Revolutionizing Accessibility, AI that Understands. Maya felt a familiar twist in her stomach, but this time it was anticipation rather than humiliation. Today, I'm excited to share Technova's groundbreaking accessibility platform, Derek began, his voice carrying the rehearsed confidence of a corporate presentation. This technology was born from personal experience, watching family members struggle with existing accessibility tools. Maya's jaw clenched. Even now, even here, he was using her story, her brother's struggle, as his own narrative foundation. Derek clicked to his first demo slide, but nothing happened. He clicked again, the screen flickered, then displayed an error message. A nervous laugh escaped him as he looked toward the tech crew. Just a small technical difficulty, he announced, attempting to maintain composure. While Derek's team scrambled to fix the presentation, Maya pulled out her phone and opened Vision Bridge. Around her, she noticed several conference attendees doing the same thing. The app had gained significant traction in the weeks leading up to the conference, and many accessibility advocates in the audience were already familiar with it. "I'm sorry for the delay," Derek said, sweat visible on his forehead. "Let me try a different approach." He attempted to run the demo directly from his laptop, but the application crashed immediately. The silence in the auditorium was deafening. Maya watched as Derek's carefully orchestrated presentation crumbled in real time. His team's application, built on her stolen concepts but lacking her technical expertise, was falling apart under the pressure of a live demonstration. The irony was perfect. Derek had stolen her ideas but couldn't replicate the skill that made them work. "Perhaps," Derek said, his voice cracking slightly, "I could describe the features while we work on the technical issues." That's when Maya heard a familiar voice from the front row. "Miss Chen, before you continue, I think there's something the audience should know." Dr. Margaret Kim, the conference's CEO and a legendary figure in Silicon Valley, stood up. Maya's heart stopped. Kim had been following the Vision Bridge story through her networks and had apparently decided to take action. "Ladies and gentlemen," Dr. Kim announced, her voice carrying the authority of someone who had shaped the tech industry for decades. "We have a unique situation today. In our audience, we have Maya Chen, the developer of Vision Bridge, an accessibility application that many of you may already be using." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Maya felt 3,000 pairs of eyes turn toward her. "Miss Chen, would you please join us on stage?" Maya's legs felt like jelly as she stood up. This wasn't part of any plan. She'd expected to present later, in the controlled environment of the startup showcase. Instead, she found herself walking toward the stage, while Derek stared at her in horror. "Miss Chen," Kim continued as Maya climbed the stairs, "I understand your application addresses many of the same challenges that Mr. Chen has been discussing. Would you mind giving us a live demonstration?" Maya took the microphone with trembling hands. The stage lights were blinding, but she could sense the anticipation in the audience. This was it, the moment she'd been working toward for almost a year. "Thank you, Dr. Kim," Maya began, her voice steadier than she felt. "I'd be happy to demonstrate Vision Bridge, but first, I think the audience deserves some context." She looked directly at Derek, who stood frozen beside the failed presentation screen. 14 months ago, I shared an idea with my family. I talked about creating an AI-powered accessibility app inspired by my younger brother, who lost his sight in a car accident. I described the technical approach, the user experience philosophy, and the emotional intelligence features that would set it apart from existing tools. Maya pulled out her phone and connected it to the presentation system. Her own slides appeared on the screen, clean, professional, and backed by working technology. I was told that this was an adorable idea, that I was playing programmer, and that I should stick to real jobs instead of chasing pipe dreams. The audience was completely silent. Maya could see some attendees pulling out their phones, likely recording the moment. 3 months later, I discovered that my adorable idea had become the foundation for a major corporate initiative. The same person who had laughed at my dream was now being celebrated as a visionary leader, using my concepts, my technical approach, and even my personal story as the basis for his innovation. Maya's voice grew stronger with each word. She opened Vision Bridge on her phone and projected the interface onto the screen. But here's the thing about stolen ideas: they only work if you understand the passion behind them. Let me show you what real innovation looks like. Maya launched into a flawless demonstration of Vision Bridge. The app responded instantly, its AI describing the conference environment with remarkable accuracy and empathy. She showed how it adapted to different users' needs, how it provided emotional support alongside practical information, and how it had already helped thousands of visually impaired users navigate their daily lives. The audience was mesmerized. Maya demonstrated features that Derek's team had been struggling to implement, showing months of user feedback and continuous improvement. She shared testimonials from beta testers, statistics on user engagement, and most powerfully, she called her brother Kevin, who joined the demonstration via video call. Maya's app didn't just help me see the world differently, Kevin said to the audience. It helped me feel like myself again. That's not just technology, that's love translated into code. When Maya finished her demonstration, the auditorium erupted in applause. She looked at Derek, who stood beside her looking utterly defeated. I want to be clear, Maya said as the applause died down. I'm not here to destroy anyone's career, I'm here to show what happens when authentic passion meets real innovation. My brother's accident inspired me to create something meaningful. That personal connection, that understanding of the user's actual needs, that can't be stolen or replicated in a corporate boardroom. Maya turned to face Derek directly. You laughed at my dream, you stole my idea. You thought that because you had resources and I didn't, you could erase my contribution to this field. But here's what you never understood: the best technology comes from the heart, not from the corner office. The audience rose in a standing ovation. Maya saw investors approaching the stage, media representatives taking notes, and fellow developers nodding in recognition and respect. Derek, meanwhile, quietly slipped off the stage and disappeared into the crowd. His keynote presentation was over, but Maya's revolution was just beginning. Stage 6: Resolution and Aftermath. The video of Maya's Tech Innovate presentation went viral within hours. By evening, Vision Bridge was trending on Twitter, and tech blogs were publishing detailed analyses of what they called the most dramatic corporate plagiarism exposure in Silicon Valley history. The footage of Derek's technical failures, followed by Maya's flawless demonstration, became a masterclass in authentic innovation versus corporate theft. Within 48 hours, Maya's life transformed completely. Her phone buzzed constantly with calls from venture capitalists, partnership offers from major tech companies, and interview requests from every major publication in the industry. The startup showcase she was originally scheduled for became unnecessary. The entire conference was talking about Vision Bridge. Derek's downfall was swift and comprehensive. Technova's board launched an immediate investigation into the accessibility project's origin. When faced with Maya's documented timeline, witness testimonies, and technical evidence, Derek could no longer maintain his fiction. The investigation revealed not just intellectual property theft, but also his recent unethical attempts to sabotage Maya's work. Technova's CEO, Patricia Williams, held a company-wide meeting the following Monday. Effective immediately, Derek Chen is no longer with the company, she announced. Technova does not tolerate intellectual property theft or unethical business practices. We will be reaching out to Chen to discuss potential collaboration opportunities. The tech industry's response was brutal for Derek, but celebratory for Maya. LinkedIn posts supporting Maya flooded the platform, with many sharing their own stories of idea theft and celebrating her courage to expose it publicly. Derek's professional network evaporated as colleagues distanced themselves from the scandal. Maya's inbox filled with opportunities she'd only dreamed of months earlier. Sequoia Capital offered her a Series A funding round. Apple's accessibility team reached out about potential integration partnerships. The National Federation of the Blind invited her to keynote their annual conference. MIT offered her a visiting researcher position, but perhaps the most satisfying development was the family dynamic. Maya's uncle Derek's father called her personally to apologize. Maya, I owe you an enormous apology. We were wrong to dismiss your dreams and were ashamed of what Derek did. Your parents raised an extraordinary daughter. The family WhatsApp group, once filled with Derek's promotional materials, now buzzed with articles about Maya's success. Relatives who had laughed at her pipe dreams were now bragging about their tech genius family member. The irony wasn't lost on Maya, but she chose grace over grudge. Her parents David and Linda flew out to visit her new office, a sleek space in San Francisco's Soma district that Vision Bridge's Series A funding had made possible. Remember when you used to code at our kitchen table? Her mother said, tears in her eyes as she watched Maya's team of 12 developers working on the next version of the app. Maya's brother Kevin became Vision Bridge's official accessibility consultant and user advocate. His insights combined with Maya's technical skills led to features that revolutionized how assistive technology understood and responded to human needs. The app that started as a way to help one person had become a platform serving over 50. The most meaningful recognition came from the assistive technology community itself. Maya received the National Federation of the Blind's Technology Innovation Award, presented by users whose lives had been genuinely transformed by Vision Bridge. Standing on that stage, holding an award that represented real impact rather than corporate recognition, Maya finally felt that her revenge was complete. Derek's attempts to rebuild his career proved futile. The scandal had made him unemployable in Silicon Valley, and his reputation in the accessibility space was permanently destroyed. He eventually took a marketing position at a small company in another state, his dreams of tech stardom forever tarnished by his own choice. 18 months after the Tech Innovate confrontation, Maya found herself back on a conference stage, this time as the keynote speaker at TechCrunch Disrupt. Her topic, building technology with purpose, why authentic innovation always wins. As she looked out at the audience of entrepreneurs, developers, and investors, Maya reflected on her journey from humiliated dreamer to industry leader. The path had been painful, but it had taught her that the best revenge wasn't cruelty or destruction. It was building something so undeniably excellent that the truth became impossible to ignore. 14 months ago, Maya began her keynote. Someone told me to stop chasing pipe dreams and get a real job. Today, Vision Bridge has helped over 100,000 people navigate their world with dignity and independence. The lesson isn't that dreams always come true, it's that authentic passion, combined with relentless work, creates innovations that can't be stolen, replicated, or dismissed. The standing ovation that followed felt different from the one at Tech Innovate. This wasn't just applause for exposing wrongdoing, it was recognition of what she had built, what she had achieved, and who she had become. After her presentation, Maya checked her phone and found a message from an unknown number. Maya, I know I have no right to contact you, but I wanted you to know that I'm proud of what you've accomplished. I was wrong about everything, Derek. Maya read the message twice, then deleted it. Some apologies came too late, and some bridges once burned couldn't be rebuilt. But that was okay. Maya had learned that the best revenge wasn't making others suffer. It was becoming so successful that their opinions no longer mattered. That evening, Maya called Kevin from her hotel room. Remember when I told you I was going to build something to help you see the world differently? I remember, Kevin laughed. I also remember thinking you were crazy for working so many late nights. Well, Maya said, looking out at the San Francisco skyline where Vision Bridge's headquarters now stood among the tech giants. Sometimes the craziest dreams turn out to be the most realistic ones. The conversation that had started with humiliation at a family reunion had ended with Maya transforming an entire industry. Derek had laughed at her dream, but Maya had gotten the last laugh and built an empire while doing it.